Hello readers, and welcome to the 13 nights of Halloween. I will be doing 13 videos that are Halloween themed. I am so excited for spooky season, so welcome to the first video. As you watch, please like, subscribe, leave comments down below with your thoughts on all the different topics that I will be talking about, and let's get started. For our first night, our first night of the 13 nights of Halloween, I will actually be going back to a book tag that I did 3 years ago. This was created by a beautiful chaos of books. She is no longer on YouTube, but she still keeps up on Instagram. She talks a lot about Stephen King, has a really amazing collection of books. But she created the Halloween song book tag, and I remember having so much fun the first time around with doing it. And as I'm talking right now, I'm planning our big Halloween party at the end of October, and I built the Spotify playlist, which I will also link down below. I'm calling it A Wicked Good Time. So I am so in the mood for Halloween songs, and I think we've got some great stuff here to talk about. And I made sure my answers are going to be different than they were in the first video, which I will link up above. Up above. I never remember which side the little eye is on. So first up, we have Thriller. For this, I need a book that is an absolute page turner. And for that, I decided to go with The Writing Retreat. I think my camera is going to keep focusing on the skull instead of focusing on me. So if I come out a little blurry, it's this guy's fault. I really loved this. I flew through it. I think I finished it in about 2 days. So it definitely, for me, was a page turner. You have a group of people, for the most part, they don't know each other except for these two used to be friends who are now enemies. And they're all writers. They've all been writing different books. Several of them have been published. I don't believe all of them have been published. But they each end up getting an invite from this really famous writer to a retreat at her mansion, and they go, and it turns into this kind of writing competition and also a fight for their lives. I read this recently. I don't know that it was quite the right time to read this book because it is fairly wintry, but it was also kind of a great way to get myself in the mood for spooky season. Highly recommend if you want something fast-paced. So yeah, really enjoyed this. Page turner, that's my choice for Thriller. Next up, we have Somebody's Watching Me. For this, I need a book that gave me the serious creeps. I'm actually going to go a little more down the comic book route. I think these were originally published as just the 2 volumes. I don't know that they were published as individual comics. Maybe they were. I'm very new to the comic world. You might also just call these graphic novels, similar to Something's Killing the Children, The Nice House on the Lake. I will try to position these so that they're not super, super shiny. But there are 2 volumes of this for this completed part of the series. It sounds like there will be future continuations made, but for right now there's just the 2 volumes. I really love the covers on these. This was the first cover that I saw in the comic book shop, and it just kept drawing me in. I think I went to the shop 4 or 5 times before I finally bought them. And along the top you also see, focus camera, all of these symbols at the top. So there's this one guy, kind of featured in the middle, who knows a bunch of different people that he's met throughout his life. And he invites several of them to this house on a lake, owned by some friend, and they're going to do like an Airbnb thing for the weekend. And each of the symbols along the top stands for a different character. You have a writer, a consultant, an artist, stuff like that. And they start to realize that the world is ending, and they're trying to figure out what happened, and their memories are really hazy, and the man who invited them, Walter, is not what he seems. I would categorize this as supernatural dystopia. I haven't really read anything quite like it, and it was super creepy and tense, and I really loved the relationships and the dynamics between the different characters, so I would recommend picking this up. For the next prompt, we have vampire. It's the night of the vampire. Now, all of you who have watched me before know that I love a good vampire book, but the prompt for this is actually a book you hated so much it was soul-sucking, i.e. incredibly tedious to get through. This is where a really unpopular opinion comes in. I no longer have my copy because I unhauled it, but unfortunately, 19 Claws and a Blackbird. This is Augustina Bazterrica's newest published book, at least newest published book in English. I loved Tender as the Flesh. I absolutely loved it. I have a full review on the channel. Focus on me, camera. Focus on me. I might have to readjust my background as we go. I really loved it. It was like a cannibalistic dystopia. And then 19 Claws and a Blackbird is a series of essays, 90% of which I did not care about, did not understand. I feel like the first story started off really strong and then just kind of petered off. I think there was one other story in there that I enjoyed, but for the most part, did not like them. It felt really tedious to get through. I only finished it because it was so short. I have found essay collections that I've liked, but I do find that essay collections tend to be a little harder to find a full collection that you really enjoy, because with essays, it's like you have this huge sampling of an author's work. So there's going to be stronger ones, there's going to be weaker ones. Ultimately, this book just wasn't for me. And now, I put a spell on you.
I put a spell on you. And now you're mine.
This is a book featuring witchcraft or magic. The book I'm going to use for this I have not actually finished yet. I am a little over halfway through, and that is Black Candle Women by Diane Marie Brown. I'm really loving this. This was advertised as kind of a reimagining of practical magic, and I fully agree with that. We're following this family of women who have a family history of voodoo magic. The family comes from New Orleans and makes a life for themselves in California. They try to avoid their past life that took place in New Orleans, including a woman named Bella Nova who apparently cursed the family so that whoever they fall in love with will eventually die. We have a teenager who's coming of age, developing a crush on a boy. Mom is super upset about it. There's a complicated relationship between the mom and her sister. You have a grandmother who has lost her ability to speak due to a stroke. I love how many voices are in this, how you've got this kind of base story of practical magic that this book works off of. And I do think that this is better than Practical Magic, the book. I love the movie. The movie was amazing. Practical Magic, the book, I have really lukewarm feelings on. I actually like the other books in the series a lot better. And if you like practical magic, I think you should absolutely pick up this book. If you like the movie or the book of Practical Magic, I think you should pick this up. It's a great time. I love the complex family relationships. I will say it's not like a miscommunication trope. It's more of I will not communicate with my family members, which can be frustrating, but is also just really driving me to keep going and be like, when are you going to talk to each other? When is someone going to find out something? When will everything finally come to light and we'll all get together and resolve our issues? I'm loving this book so far. I think I will probably finish it today or tomorrow. Then we have This Halloween.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, pumpkins straight in the middle.
For this, I just need to talk about my favorite treat or snack to eat while reading. I don't know that I have a particular favorite. I read while eating at pretty much all meal times, all snack times, all times of the day. I would say that most recently my snack of choice has been hummus and pretzel chips. I really like the everything pretzel chips with the basic hummus that you get from the grocery store. But I also really love things like drinking coffee and drinking tea, and hummus and chips isn't really a have with a hot drink kind of snack, but That'll have to be my answer for this one. For the next prompt, we have time warp. What book or books do you like to return to at this time of year? Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit and talk about a book that I believe I talked about in the last tag that I did of this, and one that you all expect me to say, but I'm going to twist it a little bit. So a book that I love to return to at this time of year is, of course, Dracula. All of my vampire books are right behind the candles and the hand here, but I am going to talk about a different take on Dracula. I have not actually read this before, but I like to return to the vampire genre. I like to return to Dracula, and this year I'm going to return to Dracula in a whole new way. I found out about this book on Reddit. It's called Powers of Darkness, The Lost Version of Dracula. This is by Valdemar Asmundsson. This is Icelandic. I'm probably completely butchering that pronunciation, but points for trying. And I will just read kind of the plot summary in here because it's so hard to explain what exactly this book is. In 1901, Icelandic publisher and writer Asmundsson set out to translate Bram Stoker's classic novel Dracula, called, I'm not going to try and pronounce the original name. This Icelandic version was unnoticed outside the country until 1986, when Dracula scholars discovered Stoker's original preface to the book. It was not until 2014, however, that noted Dracula scholar Hans Cornel de Roos realized that Asmundsson hadn't merely translated Dracula, but had, rather, penned an entirely new version of the story, with some all-new characters and a reworked plot. The resulting narrative is one that is shorter, punchier, more erotic, and rivals the original in terms of suspense. I'd never heard of this book before. Someone talked about it on Reddit I believe it was in a thread about like favorite Dracula moments in like the horror books subreddit or something. Super glad I found this, bought it on bookshop.org, and yeah, can't wait to crack it open. And even the inside is different. It's got like kind of an introduction to the writing, and it's got the diary entries, and then we have a side just for the notes, like the footnotes and the commentary and stuff. So this is going to be like a whole project book for me. I might have to do a vlog of this at some point, just talking about the things that are different, the things that I love. I'm so excited for this. Then we have Hungry Like the Wolf.
Smell like a sound, I'm lost in a crowd. I'm not hungry like the wolf.
And this is a book you loved so much that you devoured. I have to give that to Weight of Blood. I've talked about this book so much this year to my friends. I've mentioned it on my channel. I have a standalone review for it. The year isn't over yet, but this is probably going to be my favorite book of the year. I find it really hard to imagine a book that I read in the next couple of months of 2023 that will top this. The Weight of Blood is a retelling of Carrie by Stephen King. I did really enjoy Carrie. I liked the collection of interviews and stories that made up the book. I really loved the storyline. I thought it was a really great shorter book of Stephen King's. The Weight of Blood is all that and more. It has all of the greatness of the original work and then just amplifies all of that by really, really discussing the topics of race. This was also my first book by Tiffany D. Jackson. I have since read Monday Is Not Coming, also loved that. I want to start reading as many of her books as I can one of these days when I have more time and more room on my shelf. But even just adding the race element and really talking about it, that little social piece that a lot of books avoid just took Carrie and made it something completely new and even more terrifying, even more horrifying. Absolute 5 stars. Probably even one of my favorite books of all time. Go to my review if you want to learn more about this, but definitely a book that I absolutely devoured. The Addams Family. A book featuring a dysfunctional family. This was a book that was recommended by Meg from Read with Meg. She really loves Anya Allborn. The other Anya Allborn that I've read was The Shuddering. And The Shuddering was like, it was fine, but it was missing something. Brother is similar for me, where I enjoyed it, but it didn't quite hit for me until the end. But Brother is definitely about a dysfunctional family. It's a family of killers who eat the leftovers of their victims, who torture their victims to death. This is not a light read, definitely a dysfunctional family. You have two brothers, a sister, and the two parents, and they're just absolutely horrible to one another. There is a lot of abuse in this book. And as I said, the ending got to me. I was fairly lukewarm about this book. And then the last page brought up so many emotions and just made me so angry at the author in a good way. I screeched. I was in bed and scared the shit out of my younger cat, Amadeus. He's the orange one. Just scared the shit out of him. He would not come back to the bedroom for hours. And almost threw this book across the room. I was so impassioned about the horribleness of this ending that is also just really, really good and really, really well done. Like, saying it's a horrible ending is not saying anything against this book. If you read this for no other reason, read it to see how it ends. I will try more Anya Allborn and see if I can find a book of hers that really speaks to me, but yes, dysfunctional family recommendation. Next up we have Scary Monsters and Super Creeps.
Scary monsters, super creeps.
A book genre that you are scared or intimidated to pick up. I used to think that I could read pretty much just about anything, but I was forgetting about the more extreme genres. So for this, I want to say splatterpunk and extreme horror. Pretty much anything that Meg loves, I'm probably not really going to read. I love watching her channel. She is a funny and sweet and amazing person. We just have very different book tastes. She reads a lot of extreme horror. I don't know if she reads splatterpunk. I don't really know what splatterpunk is, but it sounds really gory and bloody. So I don't know that I want to touch that. I can get a little squeamish with books, not as much as I do in movies, but when it comes to things like bugs or body horror, you can count me out. So I love hearing Meg talk about the extreme horror books that she reads, but I will probably not be the one reading them. Dimitri has come to join us in my spooky little setting. Or at least he's come to ask for food, which is something. For the last one, I have The Twilight Zone.
This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
A book with a completely different and unique premise. Did I not? Oh, okay. I didn't grab the book, but Dimitri just got off my lap, so now I can go grab the book. For a book with a completely different and unique premise, I have to talk about The Perfectly Fine House. I learned about this book. It was either on Spookish Mommy or Mother Horror's Instagram. I really get their content mixed up because they both do a lot of beautiful photography around horror books. But The Perfectly Fine House is following, what's her name, Donna, who is part of a surrogacy agency. Now in this world, ghosts are super normal, and a house that isn't haunted is one of the most terrifying things that there is. And this surrogacy agency caters to a lot of couples in this book and other people besides, but you will have, say, a ghost and a human who want to have sex with each other. So the surrogacy agency sets up the ghost with a person whose body will be taken over by the ghost for a certain number of hours. and they'll get to have relations. You might also use a surrogacy agency if a ghost wants to eat something and really taste it and enjoy it and just do things that ghosts can't really do anymore. And they end up finding a house that is not haunted, and ghosts start disappearing and vanishing. And this is a really short book. I thought it was really well written. I am so on the ending. I don't love where it went. I don't think the ending was particularly exciting, but I did thoroughly enjoy this book. I finished it in like a day. It's a really fast read. And I'd never heard anything like this before, where it just takes that haunted house aspect and twists it, flips it on its head, does something different. So would recommend this for a unique premise. And that is going to be it for the Halloween Song book tag. I hope you enjoyed this first night of the 13 nights of Halloween. Please catch me in the rest of the 13 videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, be my friend on social media, leave a comment down below. I will see all of you in my next video. Bye, friends.